One of the things that is working very, very well right now, that is always working and will always continue to work, is being willing to do what others won't. Right. So that's it's kind of the secret to life, really. If you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do, then what ends up happening is you end up getting really far ahead. Right now, that sounds like bad news, but I've actually got really, really good news for you. By nature, human beings are pretty lazy, right? Most people, not just lawyers, most people in general want to do the bare minimum effort, right? So what that means is that if you'll just do a little bit more than the bare minimum effort, then what will happen is you will get better results, and you'll get better results than most people and most of your competitors who are doing the bare minimum effort. Right now, I want to talk to you about this a little bit, because this is something that is working extremely well for our business and is working very, very well for a lot of clients. Right. And that's understanding the different phases that people go through when they hire a lawyer. And I want to draw it out for you real quick. Right. So there's really four stages that people find themselves in when they need to hire a lawyer, right? So let me draw this out. The first place that they will find themselves is in the unaware or no problem phase. This is where they either don't have a problem, so they haven't been arrested, they haven't gotten into an accident, they haven't whatever, their wife hasn't, or their husband hasn't cheated on them yet, or whatever. So they don't need a lawyer, or they're unaware of the fact that they need a lawyer, right? So the second phase, once they become aware that they need a lawyer, then the thing that typically happens, most people do this before they hire a lawyer. What's the first thing people start doing once they realize they have a problem and they realize they need a lawyer? Research. They enter the research phase. Now, what's really, really important about the research phase is that most lawyers skip the research phase altogether, right? They go straight to the next phase, which the next phase is selecting the vendor. Now, let me tell you why the research phase is so important. Most lawyers, what they try to do is they try to go from unaware to no problem, right, to select the vendor. And the problem is that this is where it costs a ton of money to advertise. This is where your keywords like personal injury lawyer near me, car accident lawyer near me, and divorce lawyer near me. This is where these keywords are, right? You're bidding against everyone on these keywords, right? Now, the problem is that only 3% of people at any given time are actually in this vendor selection stage, right? So that means that 97% of people who are past this phase right here are in the research phase, right? So let me ask you a question. If everyone is competing up to 3%, what does that mean about the research phase? Somebody tell me, what do you think that means about the research phase? It's cheaper, it costs less, right? It's also less competitive, right? So what you can do in this research phase is, if you can create the content that that they're already asking, and the way you can figure this out is just figure out what are the problems that they have and what are the questions that they ask you over and over again, and you target them during the research phase, then what happens is this costs a lot less money. So it costs a lot less money to get into these people who will eventually get into the select a vendor, that will eventually move on to selecting a vendor. But that's not the best part. The best part that's cheaper is not the best part. They did a survey recently, right? And they found that 95% of the time, consumers prefer to hire the company that helped them research the problem. 95% of the time. So what does that mean? That means that you can get significantly cheaper leads in this research phase right here. And then what will happen is, if you help people, if you prove that you can help people by actually helping them, by answering all the questions that they have, and addressing all the concerns that they have. And you can do this via YouTube videos, you can do this via social media, you can do this via email campaigns, you can do this via ebooks, you can do this so many different places. But if you help people do the research, then what will happen is they will skip the Google search, and they will just call you, and they'll actually skip the select the vendor section. They'll actually go straight to the hire section. They'll go straight from research, select the vendor, you're going to be the vendor, and they're going to go straight to hire, right? So this works very, very, very well, right? And it's timeless, right? 95% of people hire the company that helped them make the decision, right? So it's super, super important because it's cheaper, but also it's less competitive because, you know, very few lawyers are actually helping with the research stage, and it allows you to get better leads that way anyway, because they come to you a better, more informed client, right? So doing what other people won't do and going for the research phase first, that is something that is timeless. It works over and over and over again. It will never go out of style. It will always result in you getting clients.